Are you gay? No, that wasn't an insult, it was a genuine question. Because now the topic of sexualities is at an all-time high of relevancy. Why, you may ask? Well, because a new one was recently invented. Take a look at this.
Yo guys, I made a new sexuality now, actually. It's called super straight, okay? Since straight people, or straight men as myself, I get called transphobic because I wouldn't date a trans woman. You know, they're like, would you date a trans woman? I'm like, no, why? That's a female. No, like, that's not a real woman to me. Like, I want real woman. No, you're just transphobic. So now, I'm super straight. I only date the opposite gender, women, that are born women. So you can't say I'm transphobic now because that's just my sexuality, you know?
So that right here, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binary people and anybody who exists in this entire flipping world, that is the new sexuality. And it was recently added to the LGBTQ community. The super straights have their own flag and just simply wish to be accepted and respected just like anybody else would. So the LGBTQ community is now called the LGBTQIASS+ community, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, why was this new sexuality invented, you may ask? Well, the reason why is because there was quite recently an influx of people saying stuff like this.
So I'm sure y'all have seen this video by now, the super straight thing. Yeah, so many people have tagged me in this video, and I was wondering why no one else had responded to it. Then I realized it's because TikTok won't let us. I posted this video 3 times now. It's been 13 hours since the first time I posted it, and it still has 0 views. Then I did some further digging. That video has over 5 million views. They've now created a flag. Like, this is now a movement, apparently. So then I went to go see who else stitched the video. I said, surely other people are talking about this. No, there's a few stitches here and there with minimal views and only consisting of people who agree with him. Are we surprised though? Because TikTok thrives off of transphobia, homophobia, racism, misogyny, etc. All I said in my response was that it's honestly embarrassing that so many people lack the emotional maturity and intelligence to just introspect and reflect upon their prejudices and biases. So they make up a whole new sexuality to protect their transphobia, and TikTok is protecting it with their lives.
Now you heard that video and you might be thinking a bunch of things, but honestly just the existence of this response in the first place kind of begs the question, are they right or wrong? Is it actually transphobic for a straight person to not want to date a trans person? Well, okay, let's take a look at the arguments, shall we?
Yesterday I posted a TikTok responding to this question, what are the red flags you look for in men? And one of them was if he wouldn't date a trans woman. Red flag. And my comment section? You get the idea. I can't put them all because there's too many. Let me break this down. Trans women are women. So if you're heterosexual and you're a man and you said you wouldn't date a trans woman because it's a preference, that's just transphobia, period. The majority of the time, our preferences are rooted in something problematic. It could be trauma, racism, transphobia, the list goes on. This person asked why it's transphobic to not want to date a trans woman. Already starting off on the wrong foot by referring to cis women as regular women, then said something about trans women not being able to carry children. If that's your sole reason for dating someone, keep that same energy for all the women who are infertile.
Oh, I assure you, I most definitely will.
That's like a straight man who doesn't date a gay man makes him homophobic. That doesn't make sense. You said this.
I'm trying to help you, but you keep digging yourself into a deeper hole. Keep trying to defend the fact that you think it's not transphobic to not want to date any trans woman. You literally said, I can still support a community but not want to date them. You know what that sounds like? It sounds like the white people who say, I support the black community but I would never date a black person.
Yeah, you see, that's actually a false comparison by quite literally every measure of the word. Having a racial preference is solely based around physical attraction, while having a preference of which gender you like is about sexuality. Race and sexuality have nothing to do together, therefore that comparison does not belong in this conversation. A white person saying they wouldn't date a black person has a completely different reason for it than a straight man saying he wouldn't date a trans woman.
You can't even see the irony of the comparison you tried to make. You can't compare straight men dating trans women to straight men dating gay men, because straight men are not attracted to men. What you're doing is you're othering trans women. Trans women are women, they're not men.
So they're basically saying that it's transphobic because it stems from the belief that trans people aren't real men and women. But the thing is, what exactly do people mean when they say real men and women? What exactly makes something real or fake? Well, what most people actually mean when they say real is their biology. That's literally it, bro. They're just using simplistic language to refer to biology. But you know, the funny thing is though, the trans argument that's used to justify why you're able to switch genders is actually in direct opposition to this proposal right here, which is the main reason why I was always confused as to why somebody would even say something like this. I'll tell you what I mean. Basically, the main argument that trans people and allies have been making for the last couple of years is, hey, the reason why you're able to switch your gender is because sex and gender are two different things. Sex is your biological makeup, aka how you're born, while gender is a social construct, meaning all of the norms and ideas and roles that are placed onto each individual sex. So technically speaking, you can have the sex of a male, you can have a penis and have XY chromosomes, but choose to live in the social role of a woman. So essentially, since sex is biological and gender is a social construct, you can change it. And you know, based on that line of reasoning, that is logically sound. It makes sense, and I can understand where they're coming from with that. However, if you agree with that sentiment and you agree that your biological sex remains the same even after you switch to the other gender, then how come now you're acting as if it isn't the same? Does a man not wanting to date another biological man make him transphobic? Doesn't that just make him straight? I mean, heterosexual means you're attracted to the opposite sex, not the opposite gender. So isn't he just straight for not wanting to date a transgender woman? Well, before we answer whether it's transphobic or not, why don't we actually look up what transphobic means? Transphobic means having or showing a dislike of or prejudice against transsexual or transgender people. Well, last time I checked, I'm a straight man and I don't want to date another man. That doesn't mean I hate the man. I'm a straight man and I have female friends who I don't find attractive. That doesn't mean I hate them. So if I don't find you as a transgender woman attractive, how come I all of a sudden hate you? I want to understand, because that doesn't make sense to me. Now, as you know, you can probably think of a bunch of reasons why a straight man would not want to date a trans woman. But this feminist right here, this TikTok girl who goes by the name of T Blizzy, has actually made a response to all of these arguments, absolutely obliterating any foundation us men had for our arguments as to why we wouldn't want to date a trans person. And honestly, I just think y'all need to hear her profound wisdom for yourself. Roll the flipping clip.
That's just transphobia.
Now, would you date a trans man? Would you date a biological woman that became a man?
Yes, and I have. What exactly was the point of this video? There's 3 common arguments I see when cis men say I would never date trans women. First being biology and chromosomes, second being physical appearance, and third being ability to have children naturally. First they'll say, I want someone who has XX chromosomes. And I say, well, does that mean you would date a trans man who was assigned female at birth and has XX? Then they're like, no, because he looks like a man. Then we go to number 2, physical appearance. So I say, okay, if you meet a trans woman who looks like your definition of what a woman should look like and has the genitals that you are sexually attracted to, what's the problem? Then they'll go to number 3 and they're like, well, I want biological kids. They seem to forget that a lot of cis women are not able to have kids. They also seem to forget that they might actually be sterile. A lot of men don't find that out until they're trying to have kids. So does that mean you all of a sudden lose all of your value to your significant other because you're sterile? Then some, not all, but a lot of these cis men have no choice but to expose their transphobia. They just don't see trans women as real women, and that is what is transphobic.
Okay, you see, this is what you call being a bit misleading here. And I don't know if she's doing this consciously or not, but what she basically does is break down the reasons individually and show why those reasons alone are not enough to want to not date a trans person. Well, yeah, those reasons alone might not be, but when you pair them together, you have a pretty flippin' solid argument. I mean, this girl literally said, oh well, if it's about chromosomes, would you be willing to date a trans man? AKA a born woman who has now transitioned into a man and looks like a man? No. Well, most men would say no to that because of physical appearance. So then she's like, oh well, if it's because of physical appearance, how come you wouldn't date a trans woman then? I don't think you realize, but have you ever stopped to consider that maybe we want both the chromosomes and the physical appearance? Like, have you ever stopped to consider that? Maybe, just maybe. And also, this girl is pansexual. It's clearly in her bio. So her saying she's dated trans men in the past is not really like, isn't that like part of your sexuality, bro? This conversation is about straight people. Just throwing that out there. But anyways, the long and short of it is, you not wanting to stick your penis inside of somebody does not make you a homophobic, transphobic bigot, bro. It just means that's not what you like. End of flipping story. And funny enough, it doesn't even seem to be the trans people who are mad at this, because I've seen so many trans people defending this, saying they don't feel offended when people don't want to date them. They understand. They don't think it's transphobic. So it literally seems like it's just the white saviors and allies who are getting offended on their behalf, which is kind of flipping crazy to me, but what the heck do you expect? You know what I'm saying? It's 2020 flipping one, and we got TikTok for crying out loud. But anyways, the long and short of it is, if gay people and trans people and LGBT people and just people in general are allowed to date whoever the heck they want, I think straight people should be allowed the same courtesy. Doesn't mean you have hatred or prejudice against them. But anyways guys, if you disagree, let me know in the comments below and tell me why. And if you did not like this video, remember to smash the dislike button, because that's your true opinion and you shouldn't hide it because of how I feel. But of course, if you did enjoy this video, remember to punch the like button in the face till it turns blue like your name is Chris Breezy. And of course, do the same with the subscribe button till it turns gray. And of course guys, as always, it's been your boy John, and you are now leaving my mind.